Hey everyone, it's Kai from Kool Collectibles back again for another review. This time it's the Sideshow Collectibles 1/6 scale Imperial TIE Fighter Pilot exclusive. For all your 1/6 scale figures and more, click the link in the description below to head on over to Sideshow Collectibles. They ship worldwide, so definitely check them out. Alright, I'll just quickly get the boring part out the way with the box. It's the same sort of standard black and grey packaging with the photo art on all sides and the Sideshow exclusive sticker on the front there, and you pretty much just open up the magnet to see the window inside. They don't even bother with the blurb anymore, but can't do much about that, and it's just the box, I guess. So the main thing is, of course, the figure itself, and I have to say straight up front, I think this figure pretty much proves to me that Sideshow should really just focus on armoured characters or masked or helmeted characters and just stay away from human sculpts, because the human sculpts are normally pretty terrible, particularly the paint application, but their armoured products like this TIE Pilot, their Snowtrooper previously and their Scout Trooper have been some of the best figures that I have in my Star Wars collection. So this TIE Pilot overall I think is a fantastic addition to any Star Wars collection, but I'll go through why I think that is the case in a bit. I'll just get him out the way and quickly go through the accessories. Alright, so he comes with a standard base. I would have actually preferred their old style circular Star Wars base as opposed to these new weird hexagonal sort of style, which doesn't really do it for me. And this time I guess the previous figures, like the Snowtrooper and Scout Trooper and so on, they had a bit of diorama, so I guess with this I would have hoped for, I don't know, something a bit glossier for the Death Star floor, or a grate or something, but other than the logo on the bottom, there's not much to really say much about for the stand, but I guess it does its job. The gloves, there are two gloves, two-fisted gloves on by default. For these ones, I guess I'm not sure. I think this is just to hold the gun underneath, and these are just relaxed palms. And this is the right-hand gun holding hand. And all of them, what I do love about Sideshow is all of their hands or gloves and so on have pegs, unlike Hot Toys, where they give you a couple of spares. But I much prefer this, so you don't have to keep swapping them out. The moulding and detailing in the gloves themselves, I actually think it's pretty nice. I guess some of the comments on the prototype were that the gloves looked almost too weathered, but in hand now, I don't think that's the case. And they do have a, they do have a weathered look, and perhaps it could have been maybe a little bit glossier, but they do look like they're well-worn sort of fighter pilot gloves. So overall, pretty happy with that. I haven't tried swapping them out yet, so I'll do that in a second. It comes with the I guess the standard Stormtrooper Blaster, which is I did a comparison to see if it was the same as the Hot Toys Stormtrooper Blaster, and it is not identical. There are some slight differences, so I'll just grab the Hot Toys version here. So the Hot Toys version, if I sort of line them up correctly, it's slightly longer, not by much, but it is slightly longer, and as always with Hot Toys, the paint application with the weathering and the silver wash is much more evenly done and more detailed than the Sideshow version. The Sideshow version, you'll see, this sight piece here is pretty nicely detailed with that silver wash, but everywhere else is pretty much almost straight black, apart from some of these odd bits here and these weird sort of silver splats on the bottom. So I'm not sure what those silver markings are supposed to be, but I much prefer the sort of general style and consistency of the Hot Toys version. Overall, the moulding is very, very similar, so you can tell it's the same sort of blaster, but I guess even the attention to detail in the Hot Toys, where in the barrel here, the holes actually molded holes, so you can see all the way through, whereas on the Sideshow version, it's just a plastic and a full piece, so you can't see the holes all the way through. This piece does come off, so it does have that sort of motion. and articulation there to form the longer rifle. I'm not sure how that sort of clips in like that or something along those lines. So similar to the Hot Toys version, and it does have the little metal clips there. So overall, not too bad, but the Hot Toys is definitely a more detailed rifle. For the exclusive, it comes with this tiny little gun, which I guess is a better paint application than the larger rifle. It's more consistent in its sort of weathering and silver wash. I can't remember the actual source for this. I think it might be the original vintage toy, which I never had. But I think that might be the inspiration for this little pistol. So I guess you can have him holding the little pistol and the larger rifle in the holster. But I'll just grab the figure again and give you guys a closer look at that. Alright, so here is the figure, and overall, like I was saying before, I think they've done a pretty fantastic job with this figure. I'll just give you guys a close look at the helmet. Now I guess I'm not one of those that gets too picky with screen accuracy on either variants of the helmet or particular scenes on which variant of the numerous helmets that they used in the original movie, hero versions, etc., and so on. But for me, just looking at this figure in hand, I think the look of the pilot is pretty much consistent with what I remember it to be, and there's nothing sort of glaringly obvious. At least for me, that is incorrect. The detailing is pretty nice, so you get this sort of silver tip on the ears there. The molding is quite nice. The back, and I guess you can see underneath, it's there's no sort of hair or head sculpt underneath. It's just a black, pretty much a black fake head. But can't really complain about that. Overall, the eyes, I wasn't sure in the prototype. The eyes might have had a different sort of sheen to them, like they were a separate piece, much like I guess the green eyes of the Stormtrooper helmet. With the light reflecting off of it, I can't see any sort of difference in the eye as opposed to the rest of the helmet. So I guess it does look like the eyes are just painted in the same way, which I guess is not completely accurate. I guess it should be, I guess there should be some sort of translucency in there, but other than that, I can't really complain too much about it. These tubes are rubber tubes, and I haven't tried tugging on them to see if they do come off, and I probably won't try that. And they do come around and attach to this chest piece. So the chest piece itself is pretty nicely molded. There's no sort of weathering on the helmet or the chest piece here. Everything is pretty much glossy black, which I don't necessarily mind. I guess depending on how they do the weathering, it can end up quite nice and realistic, or just terribly done. So just going with a new straight out of the Academy look is something I'm okay with. So the detailing is pretty good there. I'm not sure if people were complaining about the size of it or anything like that, but overall, where it fits in the chest there, I think it's pretty good. The chest piece itself, so they all connect together across this sort of rubber piece in the middle there, and that sort of clips in place on this side and on the rear here. So I probably wouldn't recommend messing around with those too much. But this front chest piece that this piece is glued onto, there's no way that you're taking that off unless you break it off. But the front chest piece is actually not connected to anything. So under the arms here, I thought it was connected to this strap, but it's not. It is a free-floating piece, and this sort of fabric strap just connects to the other side of the rear armor. So that's essentially what holds the rear in place, and this front piece is just sort of floating around. It does sort of restrict the rotation of the head, but I wouldn't probably recommend doing that too much in case you overstretch one of those cords there. So the head articulation itself, with the other Stormtroopers from Hot Toys, you can sort of do the weird back and forth like an Egyptian motion. With this one here, the body and the neck joint, it seems quite tight. There doesn't seem to be much of a neck articulation, but it does have the rotation and the slight sort of up and down. But other than that, the head is pretty much pretty static. The outfit itself, I think, is very, very nicely tailored. It's, I guess, similar to the previous Bosk figure. So if you have the Bosk figure, you'll get a feel for an idea on what the material is like. It's like a khaki material, and it's probably the same sort of style as the X-Wing Luke that's also come out at the same time, but of course in the orange paint application, whereas this one is the nice jet black. And the tailoring, I have to say, is pretty much perfect. I do like that they've got this detailing through the patch on the arm. It's similar to the patch that was on the Hoth Luke, where they did try to put it as a card and made the mistake of making the hole too small. So it sort of stuck out at the end. But this one here, they've, I guess, learnt from that potentially, that the hole should be slightly bigger and show the, I guess, the ranking or whatever those controls are accurately on the patch. And all of these pockets and so on are all sort of real pockets. You can sort of lift away the bottom bit and see that it's, you know, you could probably insert something in there if you really wanted to, particularly on these thigh ones. The thigh pouches are quite nice, and are, let me see, yes, so you can stick some things in there, and the pockets as well. So the pockets, you might even be able to shove his gun in there, sort of. So the pockets are nicely done, and all the stitching is just really, really nicely done, nicely detailed. The rear of the figure, it really does look like a nice sort of flight jumpsuit. The tamping on of these Imperial symbols is very cleanly done. I'm not sure if that's a patch actually. No, it looks like something stuck on there. But either way, it's quite nicely done and clear. So no smearing there. The belt is a nice sort of black fake leather look, so you can sort of see the weathering in it with all these little sort of cracks and so on that make it fairly realistic. And it is a tight fit. Now I guess initial photos I was complaining about how the waist looks almost feminine, in that it you know, comes in and it's very thin at the waist and sort of balloons out. But in hand, I don't think it's actually that bad. And the underlying body, you can tell that the torso is right here, and I saw some photos of the body that they've used. It's just a complete black body, and it does look pretty accurate to most of the other bodies out there. So either they could have put in a sort of fat suit to pad it up, but overall I don't think that's really necessary, and it does look pretty good in hand. This sort of silver belt buckle here is pretty nice. I don't know how easy that would be to take off, and whether or not it's just Velcro. It doesn't look like Velcro, so I'm not going to play around with that too much. But it is a free sort of floating piece, and you can sort of adjust it so that it's at least centered. The holster here, pretty similar to the Stormtrooper holster from Hot Toys. So you have the little magnet piece, and I do like that the little magnet piece is not just glued on. Previously they were just glued on, and the glue would, you know, pretty much come off and you could lose that. I think it's just studded straight through this little piece of fake leather, and it closes up quite nicely. And the leather here is, or the fake leather, it's quite nicely done. So the boots, again, they're molded in pretty much a similar way to the gauntlets here and the fists. There's not much articulation apart from the side-to-side rotation. You might be able to get a bit of play in it, but not much. It is softer rubber type material up the top here, but then getting down here it is pretty hard. I'm not sure if you can bend these feet, but I probably wouldn't try too much. The detailing and weathering again is pretty consistent with the gloves, and I do like the detailing, so I can't complain about that too much at all. I I guess the last thing to go through is articulation, and for once I actually do like this body. It does feel different to previous Sideshow figures I have. The arms, I guess the shoulders, they feel a little bit loose, but I guess they do hold, so I'm just putting it up there and shaking around in it. You know, eventually will come down, but they do go up fairly easily, and you know, bend at the elbows. I think there's a double joint in there, which is pretty good, and then the rotation is pretty good as well, back in and forth. So no issues with the arms. The waist, I haven't really been able to get much ab crunch or rotation in the waist, but that's probably because I'm a little bit reluctant to push or hold this armor piece too much, so you can't really get too much waist rotation. But I'm sure if you're a bit braver than I, then you probably can get a bit more rotation in the torso. For the legs, they're pretty good. You can get them out, and they are. Now this was something that was a bit different in that most of the other figures I have, when you spread the legs, they're not on a ratchet, but this one seems to be on a ratchet, so it pretty much just clicks out once, and I'm not going to try and split that too far. But yeah, they're on a ratchet, where the other ones I thought were just friction joints, but they do go up on a friction joint. So that was something a bit different. The knees are on a double joint, and so you can get some decent motion out of them. And there is the thigh rotation as well, and the rotation in the lower shin area. So overall, the articulation is pretty much what you could expect for a TIE fighter pilot. Whether or not you can really sort of bend the legs up a long way and get him to sit in a sort of pilot environment. I guess they did try to show that in the Hot Toys 1/6 scale TIE fighter that they showed at some of the Comic-Cons, and they did have one of these in there apparently. Which I guess does prove that you could articulate it and get it to fit in there. But that's not the way it's going to be on my display. He'll be standing with the rest of the troopers, which I'll just get right now to give you a comparison against all the troopers that I have in my collection anyway. So just hold on a second. Just before I get the other figures, I thought I'd try to do the swap out of the gauntlets, and I noticed that, you know, there's a bit of nice detail in the costume here. So it has this little buckle or a clip that sort of tapers the bottom end, which is pretty nice. Hopefully when I try and put the gauntlet on, it doesn't push up the outfit too far. But I guess you know, you're not going to see this detail with the gloves on, but it is a nice touch for them to have on there. Alright, so here he is with some of Sideshow's other figures, with the Snow Trooper on the left and the recent Scout Trooper on the right. And together, for an OT original trilogy collection, it's pretty much a must-have, and I think Sideshow have done a fantastic job. I love it. The underlying body is great, and it fits in perfectly with the others in the collection. So I don't think there's a scale issue. If this was up on the same sort of base, you get the general feel. All the heights are pretty consistent, and nothing for me to complain about in that regard. I do like some of these diorama bases, so I do wish they had included something along those lines for the TIE pilot. But other than that, yeah, there's not much that I can complain about, from the detailing in the boots, the outfit. I guess you know, the weapons could have been better detailed, like Hot Toys, but the gloves, to the helmet itself, and the chest piece, I think it's a beautiful addition to an original trilogy trooper collection. So it's still available, and it probably will be available for a while to come, what with so many other figures coming out. But jump on board and grab it, because if you're a fan of the original trilogy, you're going to love this figure. I've still got the X-Wing pilot Luke coming up later this week, so hopefully you can subscribe and stay tuned for that review. And I also do have the Hot Toys figures coming up as well, with Vader and the Tatooine Luke coming up hopefully before the end of the year. So hopefully you can stick around for all of that. Thanks again, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Cheers. Bye.